Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're completely cutting through the jargon to demystify the absolute foundational building blocks of project management. We're going to look directly at how real organizational change actually happens on the ground.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll hit purpose and key terms, foundational elements, connecting organizational and project governance, operations versus projects, and finally, portfolios, programs, and projects. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Purpose and Key Terms. This is our vocabulary for success.
So the modern business landscape is shifting incredibly fast, right? Just think about the sudden global pivot to remote work we all went through, or the absolute explosion of generative AI. Because of this, mastering project management isn't just about, organizing a checklist of tasks anymore. It is the ultimate strategic solution. It's absolutely crucial for staying competitive and navigating these massive global shifts to actually drive positive change.
And that brings us to the ultimate goal of any project, creating value. But what does value actually mean in this context? Well, it's simply the excess of benefits over the investment you put in. And hey, it's not just financial ROI. Think about a government initiative aiming for zero carbon emissions. That provides massive, non-financial value to society. Ultimately, value is your true measure of success.
Building right on top of that, organizations expect these projects to deliver specific outcomes. An outcome is the end result or consequence of a process or project. It really encompasses the long-term effects generated by your deliverables. For example, delivering a new software tool, that's just an output. The actual outcome is the real, lasting increase in team efficiency or customer satisfaction that the software creates over time. See the difference?
Okay, so here is the absolute core definition you need to lock in. A project is a temporary initiative in a unique context, undertaken to create value. Notice I said temporary. It's not your daily 9-to-5 grind. It has a definitive beginning and a definitive end, and it's designed specifically within a highly unique context to create that targeted value we were just talking about.
Moving on to Section 2, Foundational Elements. Let's look at what actually makes a project a project.
A project basically rests on three non-negotiable pillars. First, it absolutely must be temporary. Even if the building or the software you make lasts for decades, the project to build it has an end date. Second, it operates in a unique context. Think about it. Even if you're building 10 identical houses, the soil, the weather, the specific crew, it makes each build completely bespoke. And third, it exists to drive value creation through targeted organizational change.
I love to think of a project as a vehicle. It picks up an organization in its current state, intentionally drives it through a transition state, which, let's be honest, is where the actual messy work happens, and delivers it safely into a much more valuable future state. And that future state, that's exactly where the desired value is realized and recognized by your stakeholders.
So why even embark on this journey in the first place? Well, leaders usually authorize this push for a few key reasons. Maybe they're responding to new legal compliance rules, or satisfying a major stakeholder request. Or maybe they are executing a massive shift in business strategy, or simply fixing a broken product. The catalyst definitely varies, but the strategic intent is always to enhance the organization's viability.
Section 3. Connecting organizational and project governance. Let's set some guardrails. Here's the deal. Organizational governance lays down the heavy laws. It's the overall direction, control, policies, and legal compliance for the entire company. Project governance, on the other hand, is an adaptable framework tailored specifically for project activities. Think of organizational governance as the overarching traffic laws of a city, while project governance is the steering wheel, the GPS, and the brakes of your specific car. And that brings us to a super common point of confusion in the workplace. Where exactly does a project end and daily operations begin? We really need to clearly draw the line between running the business and changing the business.
Which perfectly tees up Section 4, Operations versus Project Management. Let's draw that line. Operations management is your ongoing engine. It predictably transforms inputs into outputs day after day. It's like a factory assembling 1,000 identical sedans. Project management, though, is the temporary catalyst you inject to disrupt that system, like designing the very first electric vehicle prototype. Essentially, operations keep the lights on, while projects purposefully disrupt the status quo to drive value and change.
Now, even though they are strictly distinct,
they do constantly intersect. These intersections pop up during new product development, when you're improving delivery operations, at the end of product life cycles, or during iteration closeouts. The most classic intersection is a handoff, like when a newly developed software platform is finally finished by the project team and then handed over to IT operations to sustain and maintain for the long haul.
All right, Section 5, the relationship of portfolio, program, project, and operations. Let's zoom way out to the macro ecosystem.
Sometimes, single projects are just too small to drive massive organizational change on their own. And that's exactly where programs come in. A program is a group of related projects and activities managed in a highly coordinated manner. We group them to lock on incredible synergies and benefits that simply wouldn't happen if we managed them in isolation. So programs aren't just big projects. They are strategic alignments of multiple projects working together toward a unified organizational goal.
Then, sitting right above programs is the portfolio. A portfolio is a collection of programs, projects, and operations managed as a group to maximize overall value delivery. This is literally the ultimate strategic bucket. It's where executives view the big picture, prioritize investments, and allocate resources across the board to ensure the company hits its mandatory obligations and its grand vision. A great rule of thumb to remember: if projects are about doing the work right, the portfolio is about making sure we're doing the right work in the first place.
To really summarize this whole ecosystem, just notice the shift in the success metrics across these layers. At the project level, success is pretty straightforward. It's measured by delivering defined value, on time, within budget, and to a specific quality. Step up to the program level, and success expands. Now it's measured by your ability to collectively deliver benefits and optimize value across those related projects. Finally, step up to the portfolio level, and success is absolute alignment with the overarching organizational vision and mission. It is all connected.
So now that you have the terminology and these distinct boundaries clearly defined, it's time to ask yourself, how will you harness these structural building blocks to drive the future state of your own organization? Understanding this framework is really just step one. Deploying it to master organizational change is where the real work begins. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.